Good display cases are getting harder to come by, and lately IKEA hasn't been winning me over with their newest additions. And with the IKEA Detolf being retired for the time being, I wanted to find something that could replace it. So I went on Amazon to see if I can get my hands on some decent low-cost display cases that weren't from IKEA. And I think I found something. But to summarize, in this video, we'll go over an IKEA Detolf substitute, show you how to build it, install lighting, and give you my final thoughts on if it's worth your money. And with that said, let me introduce you to the COASTER Curio cabinet, which cost me around $234 US, which puts it around the same price point as the IKEA Milsbo. This is basically a wide IKEA Detolf, but there's also two variations of the Detolf size version of it, which I assume builds the same way. And note, Amazon isn't the only place to get this display case. This display case is sold in a lot of different locations. Looking at the shipping box itself, it's actually packaged quite well. The box is extremely heavy for one person to carry alone, so I highly suggest getting someone to help you carry it. I can also say, inside the box, everything seems well organized and secure. And it comes with 5 glass panels, as well as 4 glass shelves, a top board and a floorboard, 4 frame beams, 2 plastic bars to support the glass panels, the hardware, as well as the wall mounts, and an instruction manual. Now, a piece of feedback that I commonly read was the instructions were pretty poor, so let's go over how to build it. To start, grab the bottom board. This is the board with the stickers, which also has the large hole and small hole in each corner. Next, take a black washer and put it in one of the large holes in the bottom board. Then slide the black bolt through the washer and into the hole. Then take the first support beam and screw it into the black bolt. Make sure that the shelf screw holes in the middle of the beams are facing inward. Taking a top-down view of it, this is how it should look. The shelf screw holes should be facing in this direction. Note, screw it until it's firm, but not insanely tight that you'll break or strip the screw hole. Now do this 3 more times for each of the remaining holes on the floorboard. Next, we take the foot pegs and the silver screws, and screw the foot pegs into the small holes of the floorboard. And note, you'll need your own Phillips screwdriver for this. Once all the foot pegs are on, flip the board up on its feet. If any of the support beams feel too loose, you can rotate the support beam clockwise to slightly tighten it. Just make sure the shelf screw holes are facing inward when done. Next, we put in the back glass panel, which is the largest glass panel. And since I'm doing this by myself, I'm using my trusty friend known as the dining room chair to assist me. Also, doing this on carpet would make it a lot easier to prevent things from sliding around or scratching. Next, we take a clear plastic bar, and using the short slot of the plastic bar, we slide it into the back glass panel. I'd recommend starting at the bottom and working your way to the top. And if you're confused on which slot to use, here's a top-down view of how it should look. Now it's time to put in the side panels, which is the second widest piece of glass. It should be easy to distinguish since it should line up with the grooves cut out of the floorboard. I would start with the front and slide it downwards towards the back, slotting it into the plastic bar, which connects it to the back glass panel. Remember to work your way from the bottom and all the way to the top. Not gonna lie, this is probably the hardest part of putting it together, and you may hear some snapping and popping noises as the glass slides into the plastic bar. Just remember to take things slow. And if you made it to this point, congratulations, it's pretty straightforward from here. Now before we put on the top board, make sure the glass panels line up with each other at the top. Put on the top board. Then stand on your trusty friend known as the dining room chair, and take 4 black washers and 4 black bolts, and put them in the 4 holes at the top, and then screw them into the support beams below. Note, don't over-tighten them. One of the reasons why we saw the IKEA Detolf glass panel shatter was because people over-tightened the top board, which put a lot of pressure on the glass. Just tighten so that the bolts are slightly firm. Now open the bag with the plastic suction cups, and the bag with the silver bolts. Stick the silver bolt into the hole closest to the suction cup, and then with a screwdriver, screw the bolt into the support beam bolt hole. Then do this for every other shelf slot. With all the shelf suction cups installed, we can put in the glass shelves. Next, we put in the door magnets, which look like this, in the bottom and top slots. Then we can install the door, which is basically the same hardware used to hold the doors on the IKEA Detolf. I'm going to start with the left door. First, put, I guess you can call it a washer, into the bottom hole for one of the doors. Do the same for the top, then put in the door hinge at the bottom hole, where if closed, the door screws should be facing inside of the display case. At this time, I like to put the top hardware with the screwdriver on the top of the display case. Then, taking the glass door, I stick the metal plate on the bottom back corner of the glass door. This is to ensure the hinge screws don't make direct contact with the glass. To make things easier, I would stick the second metal plate in the top corner as well before attempting to put on the door. And then I slide the door into the bottom hinge. And then putting in the top door hinge, I slide in the door and use 1 screw at the top to hold the door into place. From here, I check to see if the door is secure and will not fall. I will grab the metal U-plate and stick it on the bottom. Note, this is the one without the handle. Next, do the same with the door handle metal U-plate at the top. At this point, I will check to see if the door shuts properly. If not, I'll make adjustments to the door by loosening the screw and sliding the door back and forward slightly before retightening the screw and checking to see if the door closes. Once everything is lined up, screw in all 4 screws in the back of the door until they are firm. Now do the same thing for the other door. Once done, take a step back and look at what you achieved. Great job! Now let's move on to the lighting. The shelf width between the frames is 21 inches. So I picked up these 20-inch long under cabinet LED strips on Amazon. And I did order these V channels or LED channels as well. I went with white because I felt that black would be more noticeable on the glass shelf. From here, I measured the V channels to 20 inches and then cut them with a hacksaw. Then I taped the LEDs onto the V channels and put on the frosted diffuser. Here's how it lines up on the shelf. Then I used 2-sided tape to tape the V channels to the top of the shelves. Note, this is important. Tape the LEDs in a configuration like this to ensure that you're connecting the male and female cable ends. From here, plug in the extension cables between each LED. Connect the on-off switch at the end of the last LED extension, and then plug it in to test it all out. It's looking good, but now we're gonna need cable management. Luckily, the LED kit comes with cable clips, so we're gonna stick 4 of these on the back column of the frame of each shelf, and they should blend right in. Just make sure that your clip opens facing the inside of the display case, so it's easier to work with when feeding it cables. This is how it looks like when done. And there you have it, the lighting is complete. Now before we jump into the overview and review, if you're really enjoying my content, it would mean a lot to me if you would. Now looking at the specs, the display case is 64.25 inches high, 23.75 inches wide, and 14.5 inches deep, and it weighs about 110 pounds. It has 5 shelves and they're removable, and these shelves can hold about 28 pounds. And the shelf dimensions are 22 inches wide and 10 inches deep. This display case builds like an IKEA Detolf. It's just wider and has 2 doors. And there are many similar display cases like it, which probably build the same, but are manufactured by a different company. Now going over my pros. This is a good low-cost entry-level display case that will last you a while. And I know, low cost is pretty relative at this point, but the price is pretty similar to the Millsbow. Pro number 2, it is great for small to mid-size figures, with a lot of room to line them up side by side. And if you want to display 1/4 scale figures, you just have to remove a shelf to open up more space. Helmets fit as well, depending on the size of the helmet. Here's one of my motorcycle helmets to show you how much space you have. Pro number 3. Now unlike the IKEA Millsbow, there isn't a door frame bezel going down the middle of your display, which is a huge plus. In my opinion, display cases with multiple doors shouldn't have bezels disrupting the center display area. Pro number 4. The display case feels sturdy, which makes it pretty easy to pick up and move around, with help of course. Pro number 5. It builds just like an IKEA Detolf. Though the instructions are a bit lacking, it's not bad to figure out. Pro number 6. Overall, I think this display case looks great, and I actually like the small yet solid interior black frame, compared to a lot of the heavy external metal frames that are coming with the new IKEA display cases, which tend to block the view when looking from a side angle. Now jumping into my negatives. First, you can adjust the shelf height, at least without adding modifications. It would have been nice to have pre-drilled holes for 3 shelves instead of 4 to make the shelf height match the Detolf, which allows you to switch easily between 4 shelves to 3 shelves. But with that said, I'm sure you could probably figure out a way to jerry-rig the shelf height. Second negative, the default shelf height is not that high. These shelves are about 12 inches high, while the IKEA Detolf is 15 inches. For a lot of figures, this is not an issue, but for larger figures, this may not be the best display case for them. But again, you may want to remove one of the shelves to support your 1/4 scale figures, or find a way to adjust the shelf height. Third negative, the gap between the door, there's no easy way to make this airtight and dustproof. With that being said, I don't see this much of an issue, since dust finds a way in all my other display cases with dustproofing. Just clean your display cases every 3 to 6 months and you'll be fine. And that's it. I actually recommend this display case if you're looking for something like this. It's nothing amazing, but it looks nice, and it can be ordered online, and it's a great case to start with if you're just getting into collecting. Anyway, I just want to say thanks everyone for watching. I do have some more display case videos coming, since the boxes are just sitting in my garage waiting for me to put them together. So, I hope to see you again in the next video, and take care.